What if you kept dying next to the same man you loved over and over again? And what if this time the universe was giving you a choice to finally break the cycle? Hello, everyone. I am Rainbow Heart's Villain Thoughts, a book reviewer who focuses on gay romance and books that go over backstories/ retellings of villains that we all love to hate. Today I'll be giving a spoiler-free review of a book written by author Kevin Christopher Snipes, Don't Let Me Go. This book gave me hope while shattering my heart at the same time, but truly, I don't regret reading it. Don't Let Me Go is a young adult or YA book that is a gay romance featuring two main characters, Riley and Jackson, set in the modern day who, as it turns out, have something in common that neither wants to accept at first. Now, before we continue, of course, I have to give the heat level and the content warnings. So, on the heat scale, I would give this 2 out of 5, meaning the romance and heat are there, but the heat is not detailed or shown. Think closed door, meaning there is heat there, but we don't see it. It's not really talked about. It happens off page, basically. Which is pretty good considering this is a YA young adult book. Next up, the warnings. And there's a couple. The content warning I would give is that this book contains the following: homophobia, denial of oneself, multiple character deaths, religious intolerance in one part of the book, not the main point of the book, and mention of past eating disorders. If any of that upsets you or could trigger you, I advise you to not listen to this book review and do not read this book. I have other book reviews on the channel which may be more to your liking, and I encourage you to check those out if any of these warnings might trigger or upset you. That being said, let's get into the review. So, the writing style and tone of this book. The writing style of this book really made me feel the modern vibe, but when it went from modern to past in the book, it felt like a well done shift. Author Kevin does such a good job of switching speaking style and also doing his research for the book's past events. Now, I should have explained this and I apologize, but this book actually goes back and forth between present day and certain past events throughout history, which I thought was really cool. I really loved that. Um, it was just something I really enjoyed about this book. I've never read a book that actually went back and forth in time before, so this was really new to me, and I thought it was a really clever way to tell this story as well. Now the atmosphere in this book is well written for a young adult book. Now, if this were written for adults, I think it would have fallen out of target range because nothing is too in depth with this book, but it's just enough to make the book feel interesting. So there is detail, but it's not in depth detail necessarily. It's one of those things where you can definitely tell this is a young adult novel and not one made specifically for adults in mind. So, yeah. Then we have the tone. The tone of this book is optimistic, pining, fated soulmates kind of thing, with tragically doomed from the beginning kind of tone. Throughout the book, Riley and Jackson both have this feeling of self-identity, this feeling of trying to figure out who they are with Jackson, pining after each other, the feeling that they're meant to be together with the fated soulmates, but the tragedy and doom comes from their dreams that might be more than just dreams. So I don't want to spoil the book, for the record, but I will say it definitely ripped my heart out, but left me with at least a ache of hope, if that makes sense. Um, yeah. And then, of course, the emotional tone of the book. The emotional tone of this book, I feel, was one of hope with looming despair. But I think the author wanted us to understand that even in despair, there is hope. As long as we can cling to love, then even death is nothing to fear. I feel that because no matter what throughout this book, love was always present, it was always there for these two characters. And just different, not at the very beginning, no, but as they got to know each other, it was clearly there in different ways. Um, and it's something you can't escape with this book. I will say this is definitely not a thing where you can write it off as they were quote unquote roommates or really good friends. No, they were in love. Um, Constantly. That's all I'll say there. A little cryptic there. So next let's get into pacing. Was the pacing too fast, too slow, or just right? I think honestly the pacing was just right. It was well done. Um, it wasn't too fast, but it also wasn't sluggish. When I was reading this book, I never once wanted it to hurry with the plot or story. I have read books before where, at the beginning at least, I'm like, ugh, come on, get interesting. But from the very beginning of this book, I was really enamored. I was so caught with this book is story, plot, development. I really became invested from the very first chapter of this book. And I feel like that is an amazing thing for an author to do. And it's not necessarily a bad thing if the author can't do that for me or other readers, I suppose, because I have read books where the first chapter was kind of a miss almost, like it almost hit the target, but it kind of didn't. And then as I read the rest of the book, the pieces fell into place and they kept hitting the target head on. But Don't Let Me Go definitely hit the target from the first strike and just kept hitting and hitting and hitting each time. So I feel like every point and plot in this book felt earned. Nothing felt rushed or jumbled up. And because of that, I think the pacing was just right. It was really good. Now, whether or not it was plot or character heavy, I have to say this book is definitely character heavy. It focuses more on the development and choices of the two main characters than it does the reacting to the plot. Riley and Jackson's feelings for each other, both past and present, are a big moving point. Though that's not to say there aren't events in the book that are driven by the plot as well. In the end, though, everything is affected by the two main characters' feelings and decisions. I think the plot was there and it did drive them at times, and it was the driving force in the background. But in the end, it's their decision that decides how the book ends, not the plot itself. So I really like that. All right, next let's talk about characters, character analysis. So as usual, I want to talk about the main characters only. There are a couple of characters in this book, but I only want to talk about the main characters, of which there are two. There are Riley and Jackson. So Riley is 17 in the book, and he knows who he is. He understands that he is a gay teenager. He's not struggling with attraction with other people or anything like that. He knows who he is. However, he does struggle with past relationships hurting him and a past eating disorder, which are actually connected. I won't get into depth with that because it kind of reveals part of the story, but just know that they're connected. He's not easy to crack and needs to be pushed by his three best friends to even give Jackson a chance at the beginning. This is relatable to those who have been hurt by love before and aren't really into throwing their hats back into the ring of love. They may be people who are more reluctant to even interact with other people. You kind of have your close knit friends, your friend group, and you trust those people, but you're kind of scared to let other people in. I kind of feel like that is what's going on here with this book, and I gotta say, it's well done. Also, the fact that Riley falls for a straight guy. That's right. In the book, Jackson is straight at first, which I think a good bit of gay and lesbian people can definitely relate to that. It seems to be a constant thing within the community, whether we want it to or not, is falling for someone of the same sex who is not gay or bisexual. They are straight. And so there's a hurt and a pining and a sense of loss with that. Um, Now, whether or not Riley changes in this book, I think he definitely does. He starts off as this closed off guy to this more accepting guy who wants to not only accept Jackson into his life, but also to meet him head on and be more than friends, but only if Jackson is okay with that. That is a big one that I absolutely love, is that Riley doesn't believe in forcing his feelings on Jackson. He wants Jackson to be okay and to recuperate those feelings. And if he doesn't, Riley says, you know what, we'll just be friends. I don't want to lose him as a friend. I want to be in his life no matter how that looks. Which I really loved that about Riley. Now, Jackson. Let's talk about the golden boy with a past. Though his past isn't that deep when it comes to the plot itself, it's still there. And it does affect Jackson. A former Golden football player, Jackson is made to move from his town to live with his aunt for the forthcoming future. Jackson is the new guy on the block, and he believes with all his heart he's straight. When he starts to know Riley, he just might change his tune. Jackson is relatable to those who have struggled at one point or another with their sexuality, especially when they have already decided on what they are. So that's something that's definitely not discussed, I think, for the most part with people, is some people grow up their whole lives thinking they only like this gender or this type of person. And as they get older, they kind of figure out who they are more. It can actually figure out that they were, not wrong in the beginning, but that they have widened their horizons and they've discovered something about themselves that they didn't know before. And I feel that's definitely Jackson in this book, which again is very relatable to a lot of people, whether they want to admit it deep down or not. And because of that, I feel like Jackson and Riley both are very relatable, but I kind of want to say Jackson is more relatable, if that makes sense, to people. So, um, only for the question, of course, to come back and give a big old Southern howdy right in their face. I wrote my notes. You question certain things about you and you try to push it down, hide it, and it's like, nope, Southern howdy in your face. You're not escaping this question. Um, People can also relate to the fact that Jackson feels like he owes his parents and those around him something he is not. At one point, Jackson refuses to accept himself because of his parents, how they would view him, how people back home would view him. And that's something that a lot of people also struggle with is coming to terms with who you are with how those around you will view you. Um, and it's because of that that Jackson struggles a lot with his sexuality at first. And it, you know, it's definitely a relatable thing for a lot of people, more than you would think. Um, so honestly, I would definitely say Jackson is probably the most relatable between him and Riley. Um, Now, as for what they're driven by, Jackson is driven by the same thing as Riley. They both have the same drive. The strange connection that is pulling them together and doesn't seem to want to relent. From the moment they meet each other, there's this strange bond between them that neither can really name. And at first, it's kind of a mystery, but as the book goes on, they kind of feel it stronger and stronger until they both realize what it is. So, uh, Jackson also has a big change as well. He goes from a straight boy with responsibilities weighing on his shoulders to wanting to throw all of that away for the one he loves and just might be destined to be with. I honestly love this book so much. Alright, what made it strong? What made it weak? When I think about what this book did right, I have to say almost everything. The book had me invested in both the plot and in the characters. I was wrapped up in the book from beginning to end. I truly was. I could not put this book down. The characters were well flushed out, and the twist at the end was probably seen a mile away, but took me by such a surprised state. I was so surprised. Um, I truly feel like a lot of people would probably see the ending. I'm the kind of person I don't notice things very well when it comes to literature, movie plots. And so when they happen, I'm like, oh my gosh. And someone else is like, really, Rainbow Hearts? We saw that from a mile away. Why didn't you see it? So, yeah, I'm definitely that kind of person. And let me know in the comments below if you've read this book. If the twist got you by surprise, as well, or if you saw it from the beginning. And again, I do want to say in the comment section, never put spoilers under spoiler free reviews, please. Um, but yeah, the surprise really shocked me. But now for what made it weak. If I have to say a weakness, I'd have to say the fact that some characters were mentioned but never made an appearance. One character in particular I wish had come up and interacted with Riley, adding some depth to their relationship rather than be joy or more, rather that be more joy or pressure. It would have been great. Though seeing the way the book went with Riley, I think it's excusable. It's kind of understandable that the author didn't want more characters involved. Um, but I feel like bringing up the character the way they did kind of made me feel like at one point this character was going to come into the book back into Riley's life, but they don't. They're mentioned once and poof, never again. And I thought that was annoying and I was really irritated by that. I was not happy whatsoever. All right, now for my final thoughts on the book. Honestly, I think this is going to be my favorite book of early 2026, if not my favorite young adult book of the year. So I'll have, I think, young adult books I love, um, adult books I love, and villain backstory slash retelling books I love. Um, but this book definitely I think is going to be one of my favorite young adult books I read this year. It was so moving and heart wrenching that I wanted more from the after the last page. Even though the book ends perfectly, I still wanted to know more. But alas, some things are best left finished and not continued. The writing was amazing, and I think the author took such care and focus into this book that you could feel it. The structure, the pacing, the characters, and the historical research was just so well done. I loved it greatly. And to add to what I wrote there, I do think the historical aspects were really cool, and it shows when an author actually does research for their book, for their characters, instead of just assuming or rewriting history to fit what they want. Um, I love it. I love how Mr. Kevin wrote this book the way he did. It is so good. Heartbreaking. I cannot stress it enough. I This book literally broke me. The first slide said it broke me. I remember reading this book, and before this, I had read 3 or 4 other books back to back. This book, I had to pause, and it took me half a day to start the next book because I was just so emotionally drained and broken, but hopeful nonetheless. I feel like if you can really connect with these characters and with this book on some level, it's going to be a roller coaster for you. So, um, yeah, it's a great book, but man, does it hurt. All right, how would I rate this book? I think this will come as no surprise, but I'm giving this a 5 out of 5 Rainbow Hearts. This book touched me in a way that left me emotionally wrecked, but had me loving it. Like I just said, the book was an absolute amazing read, but my heart had to have time to recover because, oh, it hurts so bad. All right, so now for my recommendation. Would I recommend this book or no? And honestly, the answer is yes. I have to say, young adults who love gay romance will definitely love this book. It's a book I kind of wish I had when I was a young adult myself, to be honest. This book definitely shows how far we've gotten with gay romance as a genre and is on terms with being more accepting of other people and ourselves. As for adults like myself, I think we can also enjoy this book. Just look at me. I mean, I loved it. It's one of those books that feels like anyone can enjoy it. Just make sure to grab some tissues though. And I cannot stress this enough. Just because a book is for young adults does not mean that adults won't also enjoy the book. This is a book that I think most people will enjoy. So definitely, if you get a chance to pick up Don't Let Me Go, whether it's a digital or a physical copy, it's at your local library, or you borrow it from a friend, read this book. It's amazing, but you know, it yeah, I'm not gonna say it again, but you probably know what I'm thinking. So, all in all, I would highly recommend this book. 5 out of 5 Rainbow Hearts. Um, so good. All right, now my outro. Um, that's going to be it for this review. I'm almost sad to be putting this book behind me officially now, but I know it's a book I'll one day return to and enjoy all over again. If you like this review and want to be updated when I make new ones, please make sure to click on the subscribe button and turn on all notifications so you'll be updated when new reviews are uploaded. Also, if you enjoyed this review, please make sure to hit the like button, as it does help the channel. And let me know in the comments down below if this book is a pickup or put down for you. Or if you've read it before, let me know without spoilers if you liked it or if it's not a book you'd read again. Also, I didn't say at the beginning, I should have. If you disagree with any part of this review, that's perfectly fine. I understand. And please, 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 please do more research before you read any book out there, including this one. I know it's a young adult, so it's not going to be that dangerous of a read in case you're kind of a picky reader. Um, but still, you should always do your research, look at reviews people have left online, and yeah, make sure it's a book for you. And hopefully this review will help point you in the right direction. Last but not least, if there is any gay romance, young adult or adult books, or villain backstory slash retellings that you think I would enjoy to read, let me know so I can read it and possibly do a review if the book is good. Let me know in the comments below what that book is and what it's about without giving spoilers again, and I'll definitely look into it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and as always, keep reading, my fellow book lovers. I'll see you in the next review, where I'll be reviewing a steamy male witch meets vampire situation book. I can't wait to give you that review to you, because oh boy, it's dark, it's steamy, and there is a lot of blood. No, but seriously, I can't wait to give you the review. I'll see you next time. Bye.